Welcome back to Zuhan's World, a story where pain and hope dance on the same thread. Today, we take you closer to the hearts that have endured storms, betrayals, and silence. Thank you for staying with us through every tear, every breath, every unanswered question. Let the journey continue as we follow the footprints of a mother and a man who chose to protect. Duha and Anthen have shared pain and risked everything for one another. But after all the chaos, is happiness truly within reach? Will fate allow them to heal? Or is destiny preparing another cruel twist? Sometimes, love grows strongest after loss, but sometimes, it's too late. In this episode, silence speaks louder than words. A simple glance, a lingering touch, and unspoken truth. Every moment is soaked in unspoken tension, and every decision carries a weight. As they walk this fragile path, we begin to ask, can pain be the root of love? This video is a glimpse into what the future might hold for Zuha and Anthen. Will they truly become a family, raising little Tom together in the house that once held only pain? Or will a twist of fate change everything again? Let us know what you believe will happen next in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to follow every chapter of this journey. The old house stood quietly under the morning light, wrapped in the calm after a long storm. Zuhan looked at it, eyes glistening with 1,000 emotions. Beside her, Than gently placed a hand on Tom's shoulder, as if anchoring them to the present. This was where everything ended once, but maybe, just maybe, it could also be where everything begins again. Tom ran up the front steps with a joyful squeal, his tiny hands reaching for the old doorknob. Zuhan followed with slow steps, her fingers trembling slightly, then watched them from behind. His heart filled with quiet purpose. This was not just a return. It was a quiet vow whispered beneath the breaths of morning wind. The door creaked open, revealing dust, old memories, and untouched corners of time. Zuhan stepped inside first, inhaling the scent of her past. Tom sneezed loudly, making both adults laugh. Then picked him up, brushing his hair fondly. For a moment, it felt like they had always been a family. They cleaned together. Dust turned into sunlight. Silence turned into shared laughter. Tom pretended to mop the floor while Then fixed the windows. Zuhan hung clean curtains, humming an old lullaby. It was nothing grand, yet everything was beautiful. For the first time in a long while, it felt like a home. Tom grew up with two people who never claimed to be perfect, but who stayed, who listened, who showed up. In that quiet countryside home, love wasn't a grand story, it was breakfast on time. Someone remembering your favorite blanket, someone waiting up with the porch light on. Will there be a wedding? Maybe, but maybe it doesn't need a dress or music or guests. Maybe it's just the three of them laughing by the river, building a life not written by pain, but by choice. And if they do say vows, maybe it'll be this: I choose you, every day, again and again. Zuhan started calling him home, not aloud, but in her heart. When Tom tripped and cried, it was then he reached for. When the power went out, it was his voice that steadied them. Somewhere between shared chores and burnt rice, they became more than just people healing, they became family. They started planting a garden, tomatoes, herbs, flowers Zuhan remembered from her childhood. Tom had a tiny watering can, and then always let him spill more than he poured. As seasons turned, the garden bloomed, and so did their lives, slowly, patiently, as if life was apologizing with beauty. One evening, Tom fell asleep in Than's lap. Zuhan looked over, heartful. The man who once stood quietly behind her now sat at the center of everything she'd feared to dream. And she realized, this wasn't just healing, it was beginning. A second chance not everyone gets, and she wouldn't let it go. The villagers started noticing. Whispers turned to smiles. Some said Than was lucky. Others said Zuhan deserved peace. But no one knew the weight of the pain they carried or the effort behind every quiet moment. Love didn't just find them, they built it brick by fragile brick. Welcome back to Zuhan's World, a story where pain and hope dance on the same thread. Today, we take you closer to the hearts that have endured storms, betrayals, and silence. Thank you for staying with us through every tear, every breath, every unanswered question. Let the journey continue as we follow the footprints of a mother and a man who chose to protect. What happens next for Xiuhan and Than? Maybe another child. Maybe travels they never dared to take. Or maybe just quiet days growing old side by side. Whatever comes, it'll be theirs, written not by pain, but by choice. That's what makes this ending a beginning. The baby arrived on a rainy morning. Xiuhan held her close, skin to skin, tears falling as Than kissed her forehead. Tom peeked in, eyes wide, asking if she could stay forever. They named her Hannah, meaning flower. For how she bloomed in their lives, it wasn't just a birth, it was the proof that life chose them. Again, sleepless nights returned, but this time with laughter. Than rocked Hannah while humming off-key lullabies. Xiuhan, tired but glowing, leaned on his shoulder. Tom proudly declared himself the big brother protector. Their little house was messy, loud, and chaotic, but it pulsed with life, and every corner echoed with love. Hannah's first steps were toward her mother's garden. Xiuhan gasped as Than caught her just in time. Tom clapped like she'd won a race, and for a moment, the world paused in the stillness. They realized they had rewritten their fate, no longer victims of pain. They were now authors of joy. Over time, life for Xiuhan and Than blossomed. They found a larger home, one with a garden where Tom and Hannah could run freely, a place where their dreams were built brick by brick. Than worked hard every day, but there was always time for family. The house grew, their hearts grew, and most importantly, their love flourished. Every corner of the house was a reflection of their journey. Xiuhan's touch was everywhere, her paintings on the walls, the little touches in the kitchen where she cooked for her family. The quiet hum of daily life filled the house. It wasn't just a home. It was a testament to everything they had overcome, to the strength that bound them together. As their family grew, so did their dreams. Xiuhan and Than started making plans for the future, new projects, new adventures, and always the feeling that no matter what came their way, they would face it as one. They weren't just a couple, they were partners in everything. In life and in love. The days flew by, but the love they shared remained timeless. Tom grew, and Hannah too. Each step they took was a reminder of how far they had come together. They had built something beautiful, something unbreakable. And as they sat together on a lazy afternoon, watching their children play, they knew they had created their own version of happiness. In the quiet moments of their life, Xiuhan often found herself looking at Than, grateful for the life they had built together. She never imagined it would be this way, filled with love, laughter, and the quiet comfort of family. Every day, they were reminded of how far they had come, and how much they had ahead of them. And in the silence of the night, with the soft breathing of her children, Xiuhan whispered to Than, "We've made it, haven't we?" He held her hand, looking out at the quiet night sky, a peaceful smile on his face. "Yes, we have," he replied. Together, one quiet morning, Xiuhan watched Tom and Hannah play beneath the mango tree they once planted as saplings. Than walked over, holding two cups of tea, and sat beside her on the porch swing. In that silence, filled with rustling leaves and children's laughter, they exchanged a look that said it all. This peace, hard-earned and sacred, wasn't just a blessing, it was the reward for their courage to love, to stay, and to build even when everything had once collapsed. As Hannah took her first steps and Tom began reading bedtime stories to his sister, their home echoed with small milestones that once felt impossible. Than would record videos, and Xiuhan would smile watching them late at night, tears of joy falling silently. Every achievement, every simple joy, was a victory over the shadows of the past. The family no longer lived in fear but in gratitude, their love not just healing but rewriting the story of who they were meant to become. The seasons shifted once again, and their garden bloomed with wildflowers that Hannah had chosen from a seed catalog. Xiuhan placed a wooden bench beneath the blooming vines, where Than would sometimes nap with Hannah in his arms. These ordinary days were extraordinary to them. They no longer chased happiness, it had found them in the form of daily simplicity, the sound of footsteps on wooden floors, and the way Tom would whisper, "I love this home," before bedtime each night. Neighbors began to visit more often, drawn by the warmth that seemed to radiate from their home. Children played in the yard, and laughter became a familiar sound. Xiuhan baked bread, then fixed bicycles, and together they showed the village that healing wasn't silent, it was shared. Their love became a quiet legend told through kind gestures and unwavering presence. And in the calm of twilight, when lanterns flickered on, their family stood like a lighthouse unshaken, full of light. Though storms still came, they faced them together. Then and Xiuhan had turned their scars into stepping stones. Each evening, they would tuck their children into bed and sit side by side, not to escape the day, but to embrace it. The past no longer haunted them, it reminded them of how far they'd come. And in the stillness of each night, with stars watching from above, they held each other not out of fear but out of gratitude that love had found them and stayed. One rainy afternoon, as thunder rolled in the distance, Xiuhan whispered to Than, "If we ever lose this peace, promise me we'll find our way back." He kissed her forehead gently, his voice steady. "We always will. Because we built it from nothing." The rain tapped gently on the rooftop, a reminder that storms may come, but now, they were no longer afraid. What once felt fragile had become unbreakable. They had each other, and that was enough. And so life went on, not perfect, but full of laughter, tears, growing children, and quiet nights. Xiuhan would sometimes pause in the doorway, watching then fix a tom reading to Hannah, and her heart would swell with a love so deep it didn't need words. This was the home they never thought they'd have. Not because it was grand, but because it was real. And in that truth, they found something far more precious than peace they found forever. What if love can heal everything, even the wounds we never spoke of? Will Xiuhan and Than finally get the ending they deserve? Join us as we step into their world where a small home hides a lifetime of emotions. If their journey touched you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Your comment might be the next heartbeat of our story.